Joining me is political contributor Chris Uhlmann. Chris, let's start with the flow-on effect of the conflict in the Middle East. It's already being felt worldwide. Oil prices soaring.
Yeah, look, I don't know how many more times I can say this, Kieran, but I've been saying it for the last decade. Energy security is national security. We live on an island. All of our liquid fuel essentially comes by sea. We're about to get a lesson in how the world actually works. Now, what will matter for Australia is duration. If this only lasts a week or 2 weeks, then we'll probably get by. The world already had something of a glut of oil at the moment. Liquefied natural gas, no. So we're already seeing prices rocket. And you want to know what people value? Are the shares going up in wind turbines and solar panels? No. The price of oil is rising, the price of gas is rising, and the price of coal is rising because they're the things that run the world. More than 80% of all of the energy that the world uses runs on coal, oil and gas. And it's high time we understood that. And it's high time an Australian government actually took it seriously, because all governments for the last 20 years are culpable in the fact that we really now don't have the capacity to run this country for more than a month if our supplies get cut off. And can I say, Kieran, within a week we would be doing rationing of oil and diesel. And don't forget, almost everything that gets transported in Australia goes by road. So we're going to see the price of everything rise if this goes on for any length of time.
So when we talk about the 20% of oil and gas supply goes through the Strait of Hormuz, can we get that supply elsewhere? You know, in terms of we're talking about the prospect of rationing, but there is 80% of supply from elsewhere. Is that enough to carry the slack?
And no, so the price has to rise, right? As I say, right now the price is rising. It's not rising ridiculously high at the moment. People are seeing what's going to happen. But the minute this began, those tankers that were going to make their way through the Strait of Hormuz, and remember that's only 33 kilometres wide, and in fact the track that they can run on is only 2 kilometres wide, so they've got to make a pretty sharp turn to get in to get this stuff, and on the way out. So that makes them a sitting target as they pass through there, and Iran's made it quite clear that you know, they are targets. But once their war risk insurance was withdrawn, which it was almost immediately, those tankers are going nowhere, because no one's going to risk multi-million-dollar tankers if they haven't got any insurance. Now, the most important thing that Donald Trump has said recently is that the United States is willing to back that risk and maybe use convoys to get it through there. But again, everything will be slowed down. The price of everything will rise.
The other thing, you said we're getting a wake-up call on how the real world works. Are we getting a wake-up call when it comes to international law? And I wonder how you see this, because you look at the context of this particular conflict, and I know Macron and others have said it's outside the bounds of international law, but for 40 years you've got a tyrannical regime that's run grey zone wars through their proxies and terrorists. So it's an interesting sort of conundrum here. You're judging the US and Israel by one standard, this grey zone tyrannical terrorist sponsor on the other.
Yeah, and the lesson in international law is that whoever has the guns makes the law. And if you have the guns and you're prepared to use them, you make the law. Mao understood that power came out of the barrel of a gun. International law is a nicety. I think that countries should try to abide by a common set of rules, but the police force of that international law was the United States. If the United States has decided it's not going to police that anymore, then nobody is. And you're quite right. Look at the way that the world was actually working. We're talking about we should have negotiations with Iran. If you're negotiating with someone who's negotiating in bad faith, who never actually intends to do what they say that they're going to do, what's the point of a negotiation? What is the point of deciding that you're going to continue endless, pointless conversations with a regime that spread its terror footprint right throughout that nation? Israel certainly can see it as a clear and present danger. And what we see happening is its proxies in Lebanon have now joined the fight. They were always there. Hamas was another proxy of Iran. The Houthis in Yemen are another proxy of Iran. We just heard about a terrorist cell that's been found in one of the countries in the Middle East. So this is a vile regime. I'm not saying that this is going to work, but we're getting an object lesson in the way the world actually works.
The US presidents for that period, since 1979 and the Islamic Revolution in Iran, have struggled to deal with those grey zone tactics of the Iranians, whether it be through the proxies that you allude to or whatever else. Trump says, well, This is what I think of your grey zone tactics.
Yeah. Well, look, the thing is...
And has no respect for any of it, flips it all on its head. I know he's got his weaknesses, but this could be something that works. It gives Iranian expats, it gives Iranian freedom-loving citizens a chance, a glimmer of hope.
Yeah, well, I think that's interesting when you look at what's happening here is that the people on the streets celebrating this are Iranians, and those who are protesting against it largely aren't, which is extraordinary. But look, the question is, will this change things? Obviously, it's changed the leadership of Iran at the moment, but something worse could crawl out. There's always that possibility. Yeah. There's every chance that, again, that the regime is so deeply entrenched that nothing actually really changes in Iran. And again, who will make the law on the streets of Iran? Whoever controls the army and controls the police and controls the capacity to use force will end up being in charge in Iran.